What's up, RC motorcycle enthusiasts of the world? GP-8 15-hour review. I'm gonna try to keep it short. I never do though. Um, let's see. Uh, I've been loving this model. This is just my go-to bike now. I have been running my Coyote shows a lot, but man, this is the one I reach to every time. And I'm running in a little back parking lot race course. It's just like the size of maybe a space and a half or something like that, parking space and a half. So really small, so this thing can really get into a turn, consistently drag knee. The brushless setup, which is 3100 kV with a 25 amp ESC, has done great. With these packs, I'm easily doing 20 to 30 minutes. Run times, having just a freaking blast. The servos have worked really well for me. I haven't had any issues other than the front servo chattering, the steering servo, the swing arm servo chattering when it's not under load. As you can see right now, it's got a little load on it, so it's no problem. But like when you pick it up and start handling it, sometimes you'll hear it start really getting into a chatter, but that doesn't seem to affect the driving. There you go. Anyway, like most leaning rider bikes, you don't need a lot of travel. What you really need to do is use brake technique to help turn the bike. If you put too much swing arm travel, in my opinion, into the bike, you're going to end up having body drag, and you're going to end up getting outside the edge of the tire too much. So what you want to learn to do is actually I run a pretty low rate on this bike. But you want to learn to utilize the brakes, because that way you can get the rider in deep in the turn, dragging the knee, but your swing arm doesn't result in some sort of body drag issue, and then you slide out. So anyway, that's kind of like my steering setup right there. Look at how dope that rider looks. I mean, hats off to the team over at Passer IRC for making just the best looking kit. In a turn, this thing just looks unbelievable. So I can't get enough of it, man. It's so realistic and durable. Haven't had any issues with the rider, and I've taken plenty of spills. Really beautiful design. I was a little skeptical first, again, at the way the rider mounts, and you have these little linkages here and a long swing arm here. It creates a lot of torque potential to break something, but the way they've designed everything, it's worked fantastic. Speaking of protection of the kit, I just installed these. These did not come with the kit. Stainless steel hexes off Amazon with some knurled screws off Amazon. All that going together protects the body shape. It holds the fairing as well, and it's worked really well. Overall, I haven't had much damage to the fairing at all. The rider's been protected. It's worked really well. In fact, the only damage or thing that's broken on the bike for me in 15 hours of runtime and lots of crashes and slide outs is this rear end, which I broke on my first ride when I had my throttle settings incorrect, and I looped it, and it just snapped that piece off right there. So I've tried to super glue it back, and that's one thing about the material they use to build this, at least the 3D printed material. It doesn't super glue great. You know, unlike other stuff, you super glue it and it's decently strong again. That's still the weak spot. So maybe that's why they decided not to release this super awesome original fairing that we've all seen in the ads. But this fairing does well. It's really durable, obviously. You have to really cut back the windshield because of the rider's movement. You know, also, like if you're deep in a turn, and in my driveway, my rear little parking area, the asphalt's kind of rough, and his head would bang up against the front windscreen. So I just had to keep cutting it back until it made no noise. So that's what mine has ended up looking like. I'm running a pretty soft rear end. I did firm up the spring a little bit. I couldn't tell you the weight or anything. You just have to experiment, but that does still give me, as you can see, some droop, you know, some preload there. And initially when I had the softer spring, I was getting bobbling coming out of the turn like that. And this setup right now is doing just right. I'm still playing with it a little bit, but overall, I'm really loving my traction. I almost never have the rear end blow out unless I'm doing something wrong with the throttle, or I just over push it. If I can keep it right in the pocket, it's super predictable. This bike is freaking awesome. I did take it to a parking lot and put the ESC at like 100% because I'm only running around 60%, and it was fast, man, and did really well, super stable. But of course had the first time I think I honestly flipped the bike because I'm pretty careful with it. It was out there going too fast and hit like some road debris and it just immediately flipped the bike. So I keep this thing a little slower, a little tighter course, and overall it's been completely durable. Just goes and goes and goes. I'm just thrashing it, man. Talking about the tires and wheels, I did swap out for the Passer IRC kit. They have a front and rear rim now, and it has a built-in insert, front and rear. And the front feels a lot like ZH Racing, just a little bit faster turn in, but super solid. I did have to glue the tire, which I don't love. Don't have to do that on the Kyosho kit, but just used thin CA, let it sit overnight, and that's worked great, no issues. Same in the rear, I had to glue it as well, but the rear is different from the ZH Racing because it's softer. There's actually no support here in the center of the tire, and as you work out towards the edge, you still got to put it in. There is the support. So it really allows that rear end to squish, and I felt like it really helped the rear end traction. And I was able to turn up my rates just a little bit because it did slow down my turn in, but overall it's been awesome. And I think it's also the kind of the first part of your suspension setup. So again, very smart design. That's what Passer RC is all about. The GP-8 is just, this thing is insane. I'm loving my Fly Sky Noble, doing very well for it. Has no problems separately, independently, controlling the two different servos, one for the swing arm, one for the rider. And it has allowing me to have full movement of the rider, even though I'm only at about 20% rate, maybe 25% rate for the swing arm. And feels super maneuverable, super predictable. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna keep driving the snot out of this thing. 15 hours in, it is just running like it was new. Post up questions. Hope this inspires you to get one. This company's really making a beautiful RC motorcycle, and if you're into RC motorcycles, this is one you should definitely have. Highly recommended. Like, subscribe. See you on the next one.